Hi Mohini, good morning. How are you?
I am fine, sir. What about you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. So, can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah, good morning, sir. First of all, as you know, my name is Mohini. I am basically from Latur district. I have completed my BSc Computer Science in 2019. I have total 3 years of experience as a software tester. In initial days, I will do a manual testing. So totally, I have 2.5 years of experience as a automation tester.
Hmm.
I have used a Maven for to build the project tool. Use the Jira as a bug tracking tool. In my current company, I was responsible for writing the test cases and store them into the GitHub repository.
Hmm.
That's all about it. I have good knowledge in automation testing.
Okay, great, wonderful. So, what kind of framework you are working on?
Sir, I have used a BDD as well as TDD framework. Before BDD, I will use a TDD framework. Now, in my current project, I will use a BDD framework now.
Hmm. Okay. So, can you explain me what is the folder structure in your BDD framework?
BDD framework, there is a feature file. In that feature file, we can write steps by using a given when and then keywords,
Hmm.
and it implement into the step definition file. And yes, sir, we use feature files because of the it is understand for all.
Hmm.
In a BDD, there are multiple options are present, tags are present. By using the tags, BDD automatically execute all the test cases. But by using the tags, we can execute the proper test cases. Matlab we can skip the test cases by using the tags. There is options like monochrome. By using monochrome is equal to true, we can find out which steps I will missing in the feature file. And there is a feature option. It is used for the set the path of the feature file. There is a glue option. It is set for the step definition path. That's
Right. Is it possible to, so now you are using test runner file, right? For executing, for running the test case, right? Is it possible to run or execute the test case via command line or command prompt?
Sir, I'm not using the command line or command prompt.
Mhm. Okay, fine. Let's say if there is a requirement in your project that you need to execute, you need to run the test using command line, command prompt, then what you will do? How will you do that?
Sorry.
That's fine. So let this be an open question for the people who are watching this interview. How will you run a feature file or a test case in BDD using command line or command prompt? So please put your answers in the comment section of this video, and we will be responding it with the correct answer in 24 hours. Okay, now coming to that folder structure question. Whenever you get this kind of question in a real-time interview that you have to explain about the folder structure of your framework. So
Okay, sir.
uh, we will so you have to explain in detail like what are feature file step definition, but before that you will have to explain what is the folder structure. So in the folder structure there will be src slash mains slash java, then src slash test slash java. There will be a utility folder, there will be a reporting kind of a folder, there will be a folder in which you would be placing your properties file from which you are reading the configurations, right? So this is how you have to explain your folder structure. So in detail, you will have to explain what is the difference between SRC main, SRC slash test. So what is the difference? Then how will you place your pages related folder, right? As you would be following page object model, right? So how all those folder structure are being placed? What are the hierarchy of the folder? How many packages you have created? Any class related folders you have put? Any folders with respect to performing operations on Azure, all those kind of things you have put. Then there will be some common scripts, some common VB scripts or Python scripts that you would be using for at some particular time. So there will be dedicated folder for those scripts, right? So that is how you have to explain your folder hierarchy of your framework. Okay. How do you run this automation? How do you trigger the automation?
Sir, then I write the step definition file, right click and run as JUnit test.
Okay. So you are whatever IntelliJ or IDE you are using Eclipse, you are just doing right click and this thing. Okay. Now let's say you have to run or you have to execute or test case at 11:30 p.m. in the night. So build is going to get deployed at 11 p.m. and you have to run at 11:30 p.m. Your office timings are 9 to 6, right?
6.
So
Sir,
it is not.
deploy
Yes, yes, yes.
6 p.m. I write the test cases and then deploy the test cases in a 6 p.m.
Hmm. No, but
5:30 or 6.
yeah, but build is going to come at 11 p.m. So there is, so even if you run your test at 6 p.m., it might pass, but it is not validating the build that is going to come at 11 p.m. So how will you handle this situation when you have to run your automation at 11:30 p.m.? It's fine. See, this is a mock interview. Even if you don't know the answer of the question, you can just tell, I don't know. So I'll answer on your behalf. See, there are DevOps tools available these days, right?
Yes.
CI/CD pipelines are there. You can use Jenkins tool. You can use it. Various tools are there, right? You can schedule your automation to run. You can create a pipeline to run your automation at any hour of the day, whether it is morning, whether it is night, whether it is evening. In daytime, you even if you are there available, but you don't need to take care of all those things. It would be taken care by DevOps, right? So you can use these kind of tools for
Okay, sir.
triggering for running the automation. And these are this is like a standardization that has been implemented in all the organizations, right? So gone are the days
Okay.
when we used to run the test from Eclipse or IntelliJ until unless you have to do some unit testing. So you will run on your local machine, else every test would be running on via the DevOps tools. Okay, fine. Mm, hmm. What do you know about Apache POI?
Apache POI libraries are used for the fetching the data into the Excel file.
Hmm.
That's why we use the Apache POI libraries for fetching the Excel data into the in our local in our code.
Right. So have you used that Apache POI in your framework? Do you have any experience in working of Apache POI?
No, sir.
No, you don't have. Okay. Okay, fine.
I
Now,
will read the Excel data in our code. In Excel, it maintain the student data. I will read that data, and after that, I will write the data in Excel.
hmm. So you are reading the data from Excel file in your particular framework. So that is a data-driven framework, right?
Yes.
So when let's say interviewer, so when I asked you, tell me something about your framework, so you should tell that it's a data-driven framework, right? It's very important.
Okay.
If you tell these kind of terms, it's a data-driven framework, it's a keyword-driven framework. So the interviewer will ask you more questions and then he will be happy. Okay, they are working on she's having some experience on working on some particular framework, those kind of things, right? Okay, so now it's a data-driven framework. Okay, now consider a scenario. Let me just share my screen. Screen, not able to share. Just a second. Hmm. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now there is a username control in your application. Okay, this is a field, or you can this is a text box control. Okay, username field is there. It's a text box control. Okay. Now in this username text box field, you have to enter the values, and what values you have to enter is test one, test two, test 3, test 4, simultaneously till test 10. Okay, these 10 values are to be entered in this text box, right?
Okay.
So how will you automate this scenario with minimum lines of code?
Sir, is data right into the Excel file?
Hmm.
Then uh, we use the file create first a file object. In
Hmm.
that file, we can specify the path of the Excel sheet.
Hmm.
Then we will give a file input stream object. In that file input stream, I will pass the file object.
Hmm.
Then create a workbook and find the extension of the Excel file. If the
Hmm.
extension XLX, use the HSSF workbook that classes. If the
Okay.
extension is XLSX,
Hmm.
then use the XSSF classes.
Right.
Then
Right.
give a sheet, and that in that sheet we will read the sales and row.
Hmm. So row wise, you will be reading the data.
Yes.
Okay, okay, great. So this is good thing, right? So you are reading data from Excel and you are able to identify those things with respect to file format, XLS, XLSX, and all those things. Okay. Now consider a scenario where for each, whenever you enter this field value in the field, test 1, test 2, test 3, right? There is some response getting generated, right? Maybe the username field is not showing any error message. These are valid messages. These are valid inputs, right? So how will you keep those kind of assertions?
Sir, I'm not getting your question now.
Okay, okay. So let's say you have entered these values in the field one by one, right? Test 1, test 2, test 3. You are entering in the username field, right? What about
In
assertions? How will you validate whether your data is being entered correctly or not via automation script? Let's say you entered test 1, you took that as a data, okay? But
there is a
yes,
assertions are present by
yes,
using assertion. The assert equals expected and actual are the same or not. We will check that.
yes, yes, absolutely. So when you are giving answer of how will you enter this data one by one, you have to cover assertions also because see, our motive is not just to automate. Our motive is also to ensure that our automation script is validating the things.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, what would happen? It would just simply enter one by one value, and you won't come to know. Maybe it had entered test 1 first, and then directly it took test 10. You are not able to validate your automation from test 2 to test 9. So what about those things, right? So you have to include assertions in your answers, right? Now, what are the
Is
type
a
of assertions? Yes, yes, please go ahead. You were telling something?
There is a two types of assertion.
Hmm,
There is I mean to say, a soft assertion and a hard assertion.
hmm,
In
hmm,
that soft, if the test cases fail, then
hmm,
it will continue. It pass the test cases and continue to the another test cases. But
hmm,
in case of
hmm,
if the test cases is fail, then hard assert fail that test cases.
hmm. Okay. And what would happen in case of soft asset?
In soft asserts, if the test case is fail,
Hmm.
uh, it will pass the test cases and move to the next test case.
Okay, great. Fine. Okay, this is good. Now, how will you take a decision that this particular test case should be automated?
By using automation,
Hmm.
uh, uh,
So you have to use automation. That is one of the aspect. But now let's come to one level prior to doing automation, right? How will you ensure that this test case needs to be automated, that this test scenario is a perfect candidate for automation? How will you take that decision? Maybe you have 1000 test cases which you have written, right? Not
Yes.
everything can be automated, right?
Yes.
So, but first of all, we will take certain test cases for automation. So which are the test cases that you will consider first for automation?
Um, by using automation, we can handle the web-based application.
Hmm.
If, is there any web-based application, there is no captcha or no barcode, that test cases we will automate.
Sorry, in scenario where captcha is there, you cannot automate them.
Yes, sir, not automate that test
Right.
cases
So
by
those
using
are,
Selenium.
yes, those are limitations of Selenium. Now let's say you have
Yes.
got 1000 test cases available with you. As a manager, uh, there is a test manager with you. He comes and he tells you that, Mohini, you need to identify the best test cases for automation. So how will you identify?
Hmm.
What are the different parameters that you will consider for doing automation?
Actually, sir, I know the answer, but now I'm not recall it.
Okay, that happens. See, whenever you are you are not able to answer, right? So
Hmm.
you can request the interviewer. So this is a smart way of handling such questions. Can you please explain the question? Can you please repeat the question? Or can you please? I'm not able to understand the question. So can you please uh, help me with understanding the question? So he might change the words, he might change few of the terms and terminology, then you would be able to get the answer, right? So over here, what
Okay.
I asked you the question, single question in three different manners, right? And at the end I told you which are the different parameters for considering automation. So which are the different factors that you will consider whether this particular test case is for automation or not, right? So you can take an example of critical scenarios without which
Yeah.
you cannot deploy, or you cannot say that this particular release or this particular build is successful, is passed. So those test cases you will automate first. The critical business scenarios, which, let's say, if none of the team member is available on weekends or even on working in this common working days, right? So you will take those test cases for automation because you don't want to mess up with the critical functionality, right? It should be working every time. Then there are some repetitive scenarios that you have to do every time. Maybe, um, for example, in order to log in with some particular user, you will have to create a sheet with 50 or 40 users available with you as a test data so that you can test one by one login. So those kind of scenarios you can automate, right?
I want to say critical scenario or repeated scenario I will test by using
Common,
automation.
yeah, critical scenarios, and then common pain points of manual testers, those you can take for automation. For example, if it's an amazon.com website, right? In amazon.com website, what is the critical functionality? Selecting a product into the and adding them to the cart and doing the payment. So this is the common functionality. So this you will automate first rather than going to the checkout option, removing some product from the cart, adding some product from the cart, and checking that you have those items only available in your card. So that is a regression scenario. You have to focus on critical scenarios first.
Okay, sir.
Getting it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, what else we have? So let me share my screen. I'll give you one scenario.
Yes.
Okay. You have to tell me what is happening in that script. Okay. Are you ready for the question?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, this question will, if you correctly answer this question, it will give you 1 crore rupees. Okay. So this is the script that we have. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, can you tell me what we are doing in this script? Is my screen visible, Mohini?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, so you need to explain me what we are doing in this script.
At the rate test annotation, we will give one method like soft assert.
Hmm.
In that method, create the soft assert object,
Hmm.
and that will print the method started.
Okay.
In soft assertion dot assert true,
Hmm.
that is give in if the test cases is true,
Mm-hmm.
then execute a method, a soft assert method has executed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you mean to say there are some kind of assertions, there are some kind of validations, checkpoints being kept in this script to check whether
Yes,
some things are working fine or not, right?
yes,
Now, what if instead of after starting this soft assert method, right, we are
hmm?
asserting what values we are getting, right?
Yes,
Now consider the scenario or situation when this particular function is getting failed, right? Will you
yes.
come to know that this test case got failed?
Yes,
How will you come to know that?
repeat the question, sir. One.
Okay, okay. This is a function. This is a test case that you have written. Okay. Now consider a situation where this particular test case in your automation suite is failing. Okay.
Yes,
So will you be able to know that this particular test case has got failed? Are we actually doing some sort of validation in this script? Just think from the best practices point of view, from the standardization, even a logical point of view.
keep that test case.
Mhm. You have used soft assert, right? So that is a kind of validation checkpoint that we have. Prior to two questions, we were discussing about hard assert, soft assert. If do you
Yes,
think this test is actually validating something? Do you think something is missing in this script? Okay, let's say if there is a junior member in your team, right?
yes.
He has written this test case. They are coming to you for reviewing this test case. Do you think he needs to add something into this particular script so that you know everything is covered? I can give you a hint. There is a single line that needs to be added in order to make sure that this test case, this automation does the expected thing. It is an incomplete script.
Sorry, sir, I don't know the answer.
No worries. See, simple answer. Soft assertion dot assert all. Right. This line was missing. If you don't keep assert all, so there is no point of doing assertion and all those things. It is very important to keep assert all at the end of the script. Right. Otherwise, whether the test case is pass or fail, it is of no meaning. Right.
Okay, sir. Yes.
Okay. So this is the best thing. Anytime and whenever you are reviewing the code of someone, whenever you are writing automation script, you are creating methods, functions by yourself, then you have to take care of all these things. Okay,
Yes.
so this is fine. Mhm. Hmm. Okay. Now there is a functionality available in your application which has got
Hmm.
some Windows based controls, right? There is
Yes,
a
sir.
Windows based controls are there. Do you think those can
Yes.
be automated?
Yes, sir. Windows based is not possible by Selenium. We
Mm-hmm.
can either third party like Apache or robot classes there by handling the Windows based application.
Hmm. Wonderful. Yeah, you will use auto IT, you can use PowerShell, right? So those things you can use to do the automation.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now we don't have laptop. Okay. But in real-time interviews, always try joining from laptops because you have got an automation tester profile. So they will give you the questions on writing Java programs, right? So you will have to
Okay.
share your screen, write Java programs for whichever assignments questions they give, and you will have to explain your code to them. Maybe they can
Okay.
ask you to run that particular code in IDE also. So you have some IDE ready in your machine, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay. So this is good. What else we have? Okay, what is super keyword?
Super keyword is used to initialize the parent class constructor.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is two type of constructor,
Mm-hmm.
and we use keyword as a second constructor, then that second constructor call the first constructor. By using super keyword, we can call the parent class constructor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are the three uses of Java super keyword?
This is the constructor first line.
Mm-hmm.
Super keyword, super the constructor first line that have used to call the parent class constructor. And
So one is with respect to constructor, right? Which are the
yes.
other uses? How will you use super keyword? Or how does super keyword help you in your making your programming easier?
I know the one, sir,
Okay, no
that
worries.
call the
See,
constructor.
super can be used to refer immediate parent class instance variable, right? This is second super. Then the super keyword can also be used to invoke immediate parent class method, right? Constructor, method, and variable. These three things you can invoke using super keyword. Clear?
Yes,
Okay.
constructor method or
Constructor, method, parent class constructor, parent class method, and parent class instance variable.
okay, sir.
Okay. What is covariant return type?
Covariant return type, it is introduced in a JDK 5.
Hmm.
It after it is used in overloading.
Hmm.
If the parent in before the covariant return type, for primitives return type must be same, but after on object is must be same. But after the JDK 5, it is only applicable for the object type. So if the parent class return type or child class return type are same, otherwise the parent class child is allowed.
Hmm. No, no, I didn't get. Can you explain again with some example?
Like covariant return time is used to specify the parent class method and the child class method return a same return type, or the uh, parent class child. Like there is an object, so return a string, like a string is a child of object.
Hmm.
That otherwise, if in parent class there is a string, child class is written in a string.
Okay. Now consider there are two classes. Class A has some return type, class B has some return type, right?
Yes.
And how will this covariant return type come into the picture?
If the class
Hmm.
covariant return type,
Mhm.
if it is object type,
Hmm.
then we use covariant return type.
If it is object type, uh, okay. Okay, now let me give you one simple example. Let me share
Okay.
my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there is a class A. In that we have a simple function and we are returning this, right? This is a simple class. Then there is a class B1 which is extending A, right? So we are using method overriding over here, right?
Yes.
Now B1 is having, again B1 there is a methods separate method, right? And it is having some void message as one of the function, right? Then we have a public main class, right?
Yes.
Main function that we have, and we have created an object and we are getting the messages, right? So as you can see over in this particular example, the return type of the get method of A class is different from the return type of the get method of B class, right? Over here, the return type is different. Over here, return type is different, right? Both the methods have got different return type, right? This is known as covariant return type. Okay, see, return type of get method of A class is A, but the return type of get method of B class is B. Both the methods have different return type, but it is method overriding. So this is known as covariant return type,
Return
right? So this thing you can. Okay, what is abstraction in Java?
Abstraction is nothing but the hiding internal details and showing the functionality.
Hmm.
By using abstract class and interface, we can achieve the abstraction.
Hmm. Okay, have you used abstraction in your Selenium framework?
Yes, sir. If in a page class,
Hmm. Hmm.
we use the locators like class, and in a other class we use the specification of that locator.
Hmm.
We can't. Uh, we don't know the implementation of that methods.
Hmm. 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 Right, right. So abstraction is nothing but you were mentioning it very rightly. It is the methodology of hiding the implementation of internal details and showing the functionality to the users, right? So in your framework, you would have, if you would have used page object model design pattern, so you would have written some locators such as ID, name, XPath over there. Methods are
Yes,
also mentioned in the page class. Now you will use these locators in your test, but you
yes.
cannot see the implementation of the methods, right? We are hiding the
Okay.
implementations of the locators from the test where we are using them. Right? So this is called abstraction. Clear? Okay. So Mohini, I am done with the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
Sir, how was my performance? Which point I
Hmm.
improve myself?
See, so one thing is the laptop thing, right? You have to join from laptop only. Second thing is whenever you get this kind of questions related to framework, so you will have to explain them. Like we discussed on the question on folder structure of framework, right? In the folder
Okay.
structure, how is the hierarchy? Those things you will have to revisit. Maybe see every day you are doing automation, you are seeing those folder structures. So same thing you have to explain in an interview, right? Third thing is whenever you get this kind of Java programming related questions, so you will have to prepare yourself. Definitely, you will get Java programming questions because you are having automation profile. Manual testing
Yes.
questions will be less, right? So that's why we also covered less questions on manual testing. More focus will be on automation. In your interview, they will ask you, if total questions are 10, they will ask you 8 out of 10 questions on automation, 2 on manual. That also depends on the mood of the interviewer. If you are able to
Okay.
answer more and more questions on automation, so he will be happy that you have got a good command on automation, right? After that, third thing that you will have to be ready is with the OOPS concepts, right? I asked you an example of abstraction, so you will have to explain in detail. Maybe inheritance is asked to you, polymorphism may be asked to you. So whenever you are giving answer, try to give some examples. Try to give some real-time examples that you have used in your framework. So you will be able to explain them with more clarity, with more confidence in an interview because you have worked, you have got an practical exposure to those things, right? So it's not a theoretical bookish knowledge. You have worked on that. So you have to tell in an interview. You will have to explain in an interview. Maybe you know the answer, but you will have to understand the question and answer. You have got the knowledge, but you will have to still articulate the things in an interview, how to present yourself. So that is also key skill, right? I think rest all things were good. You are having good technical knowledge, but it is just that you have to uh, learn the art of practicing of how to answer in an interview, right? There may be so many things that we are working on, so many constructor objects that we are initializing on, right?
Yes.
So those things you will have to take care. Rest all things is fine.
Which kind of scenario-based question I will prepare for the real-time interview?
So scenario-based questions can be asked to you. So there are two kinds of questions. One is functional, one is technical. In functional, they might ask you, uh, how will you estimate this particular user story for automation? How much time do you need to estimate how to do automation? How will you do that estimation? How will you do code review? As we were looking into that assertion example of code review, right? How will you do code review for your PM members? What if one of your member is on leave now? You have to take that framework and you have to work in that framework. What all things you will do? How will you uh, ensure that your automation is running at night, right? So those are scenario based. Now coming to technical based questions, they can ask you to share your screen and maybe find out relative expert of some element in the website that they will give you in that interview. They might ask you to um, uh, write an inheritance related program that how you have used in your framework. Then they might ask you to create a diagram on how your framework has been created, right? They might ask you a few questions on mouse over, actions class, Selenium related questions they might ask you. How will you do parallel execution in browsers? Those things can be asked to you. Then what is the significance of config.properties? These are the various, then they will ask you, okay, so your test was running in staging environment. Now you have to run in the QA environment. So will you be able to run your test? Yes, because you have got config.properties. You have mentioned URLs, username, credential in that. You just have to switch your URL. So that is fine, right? So these kind of things will be asked to you. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Mohini, thank you so much for coming on our channel and giving the mock interview. It was nice talking to you, right?
Okay.
And in future also, please share interview questions with us wherever
Okay.
companies you are going, right? And all the best for your career.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.